Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church, right here in Beaumont, Texas. And we're here on what's happening in our neighborhood. And today my special guest is Marcelo Molfino, better known as Mo. Welcome, Mo.
Hey, Pastor. Thanks for having me.
Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Work at the district attorney's office as an investigator on several boards here locally, trying to help the community out. It's not just a job; it's about being in the community.
Yeah, this is your passion, Mo.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we see you all out the neighborhood, so we know it's your passion.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mo, we just came through the storm with Hurricane Harvey, and a lot of people had damage to their homes, and now they're in the process of being repaired. But there's some things that are going on that we need to talk about.
You know, a lot of people, when the storm happens and the news is here and it's on TV and it's in the paper, it's big, big stuff. But it's been 4 months and a little longer. So now you have people left with trying to fix their homes, fix their lives, and some of them don't have the help or the resources, or the ones that do aren't really checking to make sure that the people they're hiring can do the job. And so then that can create more issues and more problems for people.
Yeah, I've been noticing that contractors are taking money and then abandoning the jobs, and just leaving. And leaving the people high and dry.
Well, you've got the fraud side, the criminal side of it, where someone's doing just that and stealing money. And then there's times where, unfortunately, this can kind of split from a criminal side to a civil issue. So if someone doesn't finish a job or doesn't do it correctly or damages your property, and there's things we need to talk about there where checking out who you're talking to. The Better Business Bureau, get references, get pictures, speak to people whose jobs they've done, and kind of protect your investment.
Yeah, because if somebody needs to work and they need it done now, how do a homeowner go about finding a contractor that's legitimate?
Well, unfortunately, I have some experience in that in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
And there's when storms and things like this happen, all of a sudden there's contractors. People become contractors that weren't before. So you run the risk if you don't take the time. You've got to let your emotions sit to the side and treat your home or your property as a business transaction. Make sure that you know who you're getting. Are they bonded? Or are they insured? Like I said, check references. Don't just take their word for it. If someone's legitimate, they're going to want you to talk to or let you talk to the references. The Better Business Bureau is there to help you. Things like that. Other things you need to worry about is, do you live in a municipality? Do you live in a county? What permits, what rules and regulations do you have to follow? A true general contractor is going to know that and check that out. It's not going to be on the back of the homeowner, but the homeowner needs to be educated as well.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're here today, is to try to educate the public, because, people are getting scammed. This is their life investment in their home, and it's already in disrepair, and then someone comes and scams them.
Correct.
So if a homeowner needs to find out about a contractor, what do you recommend that they do?
When you're speaking to these people, I would treat it it's a job interview. Okay, what service do you provide? Who have you provided this for locally? Are you local? Are they from in town, out of town? Just because someone's from out of town doesn't mean they're not legitimate, but you still need to check their references, and do that homework, do that check, because it could be the difference on you getting scammed or getting legitimate work done.
Now, have you seen where contractors will have multiple jobs and then they take your money to go to the next project,
I think I've learned that term's called living out of your truck. There's companies
Wow.
that do that. They flip from one job to another. An established business is not going to ask you for 75% of the money up front. They're going to have resources, and then in your contract you should have draws set up. Okay, I'm going to pay you this much, and once this part is done, then we'll go to the next payment. Sometimes depending on the size of the job, and that protects you, because if you give someone $50,000 on a $75,000 job, they're almost paid in full, because materials and stuff like that aren't that much. The profit, we don't know anything about profit margins as citizens.
Right.
So that's something to be very cognizant about too.
Now, do you know if the homeowner is the person who have to get the permits from the city? And that's important, because you can't depend necessarily on the contractor to get these permits.
Those are things as a homeowner that you need to check with the city so that you're informed. A lot of the stuff the contractor may have to, show their credentials or their licensing for whatever it might be on whatever trade that they are. But yeah, that's all part of it as a package, which is truly important. And that's going to show you too whether this contractor or this person to do the job is even credible to do the job.
And the local permit departments for whatever city they're in is there to help the homeowner secure proper work.
Correct. And for young people, it's easy to get in your car and drive down places or get on. For some of the older people, that's where we've been seeing a lot of the problems. There's been some pro bono work done through the Jefferson County Bar Association helping out some older folks who've been scammed. But it's rampant because of the amount of damage and the people that have been hurt. You just have to be really cognizant and kind of pump the brakes. Everybody wants to fix their stuff fast, but really the process you have to follow is going to protect you in the long run, because if you get something done wrong and it has to be redone, then there's more money and there's more weight, things of that nature.
Now you are speaking from personal experience.
We had to do the roof twice because the guy didn't take the time to do it right. So the windstorm engineer came out and said, "Hey, this doesn't pass. Tear it off. Do it again." And that's something that the contractor had to pick up the tab, but it sets you back because I'm learning. Construction is not my trade, but I've learned a lot in 4 months. Everything is a step process. So if the tape and float guy is there and then the texture guy is waiting and something gets held up, he's going to go to another house because he's got another job waiting.
Yeah.
So everything kind of has to fit into pieces. And you get a good crew, it's like clockwork. And then you get the ones that piecemeal things together, and that's where you're going to run into problems.
And would it be your recommendation for those who are watching today not to rush this process?
I would speak to as many people as you can, because you'd be amazed at, I'm going to give you, for example, a trim, doors, and molding, okay? Your bids may be like so far apart, so figure out why. Is this guy price gouging? Is this guy just has a faster crew so he can maybe charge a little less because he gets more work? So educate yourself on what's out there, who can provide the service, and then check references, check with the Better Business Bureau, check with everyone that you can to make sure that decision you're going with is a viable one.
Okay, Mo, let's just say that I didn't do all that. I gave the contractor my money and he disappeared. Can I contact law enforcement to get on the case?
Well, there's like I said earlier, there's going to be the criminal side where someone comes and just takes your money. Okay, they've stolen from you. The other side is you've paid someone some money. The work they have done is not to your liking or not to the specs. Well, then you have a civil matter because the work was done. It was just done incorrectly. So, of course, if someone were to come in and let's say you hired me and you said, "Hey, I'll do this job for $20,000," and you write me a check for $10,000 and you never see me again. Well, that's theft.
Yeah.
So yes, you contact your local agency. If you live in the city, it's going to be the city that you live in. If it's a county, it must probably be a sheriff's department. And there's, believe it or not, it's bad enough that, for example, our office has people that are basically looking at the fraud and the theft, and the federal government has also set up hotlines and people that are going to work specifically those cases.
So now that's good. So if I'm living in the city limits, I need to contact that city police department.
Right. If it's Beaumont, it's Beaumont. If it's Port Arthur, it's Port Arthur. And create the initial report. The person told me they were going to do this job. I wrote them a check for $10,000, and they never came back. I tried to call them back. The number's no good anymore. If you didn't do the research on who you talked to, I might just say I'm Joe Blow with ABC Company. I'm not Joe Blow, and there is no ABC Company. So then the homework is, who was this person?
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to make sure that you do your research on who you're talking to, who the business is, because if it's just some fly-by-night person that went to, a printing shop and made up some business cards and flyers, it's going to be kind of hard to find.
I just had an intrusive thought that maybe a recommendation for those who are watching, maybe make a copy of their driver's license and take a picture of their license plate.
Things like that. And most people, if they're legitimate, like I said, what are the last 3 jobs that you've done? Can I contact them? what's the address? It might take you a little time to do that research, but it may pay huge dividends in the end because you're protecting your investment. You're protecting your money, your home, the headache. I can't say enough.
Yeah.
It's stressful enough,
Yeah.
on families, on there's only so many hours in a day. So some people have to go to work, so trying to fix your house, and try and make it as easy on yourself as you can through a tough situation.
My wife and I were sitting down last night, and we were talking about, how thankful we are that we didn't get any major damage to our home when you look at other families who are displaced out of their homes. And it's been over 4 months. I mean, the anxiety that comes from just being out of your home and still have to do all the basic things that you were doing before.
Correct.
It has to be stressful.
Correct. I think too, it's just due diligence. If you know people that are getting work done on their house, there's some great workers that have come through ours. I've referred them and said, don't take my word on it. Come look at this.
Yeah.
Come look at this tile. Or
Yeah.
come look at this trim. That way, that's a reference. Go ask them for another one, and that way, you're helping each other out. Because if it's too good to be true, if someone comes in and
Probably
and they're
is.
5 or 10,000 less, there's a reason why. If what do they call it? You can't have champagne taste on a beer budget.
Wow.
I mean, it's you're going to pay what you get for, and you got to protect yourself.
And that's a good point you just made, Mo, about asking your neighbors. Ask your neighbor, hey, did you have a contract that was good for you? And did they do the work in a timely fashion at a reasonable cost? And were you satisfied? And I'm sure that if your neighbor says, A-OK,
Right.
That's a good contractor to use.
Another thing, I don't want to speak for the Better Business Bureau, but if you have good results, call them. If you have bad results, call them. Because if the only way for us to help each other is just like the community groups that we work with in law enforcement, good and bad. If we share information, that's good for everybody.
That's a good point, Mo, because I'm sure that everybody calls when there's a bad report,
Right.
but maybe not call when there's a good report.
Right.
Well, listen, I want to thank Mo for coming today and talking to us about this issue with contractors. Listen, be safe and go through the process. It might take some time, but at least you're going to secure yourself and your home and you not be taken by a scam, because many people are falling today because of scams, and they're out even more. So take the time to research the contractors that you're going to use. Call the Better Business Bureau. And listen, if you have a situation to where you felt that you were mistreated by a contractor, by them taking your money, call your local police department or the sheriff's office and make a report, and then go from there. Listen, I want to thank Mo for joining us today, and thank you for watching what's happening here in our neighborhood, and we will see you next time on our broadcast.